Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. You know, it's almost hard. You have to almost feel sorry for John Swinney. I don't, but you almost could. Because he was due to end his career. He was due to resign at the next Hollywood election. He was slowly winding down his political career with the look of a soft exit at the end of his time. And then, of course, the party basically imploded. They chose the wrong leader. There was buyer's remorse, and they were looking for any excuse to get rid of him. And then, of course, the whole debacle over the Greens meant that Humza Yousaf was now persona non grata and was booted out as quickly as they could comfortably do it. And John Swinney was persuaded by others in the party to make one last hurrah, to make a stand, to be someone at last. And also gives him a nice little pension. And so he did, rather unwillingly, I suspect, but he became the new leader. And his job was continuity again, but this time to maintain some kind of control, to stop the mistakes, to keep the party ticking over until a new proper leader could be found. He was, if you like, a newly installed captain of a sinking ship, but his first orders, of course, were to burn the lifeboats in order to keep warm. But as he's plodding on, he thought, well, it's comfortable for now. We'll get to the summer, we'll get past there, we'll look to the November election, and away we go and see what happens. What's this? Of course, straight away, it's only 2 weeks into the job, and he's got to form an election committee and fight a general election. He hasn't got a clue what he's doing. He's out of his depth. Yesterday's man, the caretaker, call him what you will. But he isn't a leader. He isn't a real leader. He doesn't have authority. He certainly doesn't have the cash and the wherewithal to launch a campaign. And so he's sitting there trying his best, juggling, keeping the plates rolling on the old sticks, doing everything he can to keep all his balls in the air at one time. An unfortunate metaphor for John Swinney, I suppose. But it's working for now. Maybe. Couple of days? Well, let's say this is his last weekend. It'll be his last weekend of peace, because come Monday, when the campaigning starts properly, because that's really when Parliament in London will have closed, they've got a few days of wash up. It may be Monday, maybe Tuesday, and then they're done. And that's when they're really off. That's when the campaign trail gets hit. That's when everyone hits every single possible constituency. And it's okay for Labour and the Tories. They've got lots of money. And it's okay, really, for the Lib Dems. They know where they're targeting and they can spend appropriately there. But the SNP, not so easy. Hold your horses. Only they can't afford horses. Hold your bicycles. They are going to be approaching their own candidates and ask them to pony up to pay for their own deposits. How many deposits are going to be lost? You have to get 5% of the vote to save a deposit. I suspect there will be seats, and I suspect there'll be many seats, where SNP will lose deposits. And that will be bad at £500 a pop. The SNP are in so much problems, and there's John Swinney. He has no way of solving these problems. He hasn't got the money coming in from private sponsors. And indeed, in the whole time that Humza Yousaf was in as leader, they only pulled in £75,000 in donations. £5,000 of that was from one living person. The other £70,000 was from dead people's wills. Well, that's going to happen a lot less now. With no corporates either putting that big money in, no real money from donations, they are reliant upon membership money and the Shorts money and the money that comes from all the politicians themselves as a percentage of their earnings. Bit of a protection racket. We'll take 15% of that, or whatever their percentage is. Anyway, they ain't getting a lot, and it's shrinking. And nobody knows how few they've got as members. They won't say, they don't want to. It'd be embarrassing. Given they're $1 million in the hole, do you think the banks are going to extend their loan facility? The banks must take a look at this and must see that because they're going to lose a lot of seats as expected, then their credit rating is going to be through the toilet. the banks would be remiss, shall we say, at best, to extend lending to a party that's going to have a reduced income. And indeed, the banks really ought to foreclose on the loans they've got, ask them to repay it, ask them to take their custom elsewhere. Who else is going to lend them that money? Millions upon... They need $1 million just to get back to zero. Then they've got to fight a campaign. They're going to need 2, 3, 4 million pounds. Where's that going to come from? They are a party that is finished. It is absolutely delicious to watch. That's another one of his problems. Even the people who support the SNP disagree with a lot of their policies. It's said that you could put a monkey in a yellow rosette and a lot of people would still vote for it. That may be not so true now, especially if that monkey is voting for the wrong policies that will make people's lives miserable, make people's lives difficult, make people's lives seriously unemployed. And a lot of that's happening. One only has to look at the big cities where they're bringing in ULEZ zones and watching the trade dissipate and the heart getting ripped out of cities. Nobody likes anything they're doing. They haven't got one positive policy, let alone one positive thing that they can point to. The gig is up, John. You've been found wanting. You've been found out. And where are you going to go? You make all these promises, we will do this and we will do that and we will do something else, but you've had 17 long years to do those things. Why haven't you done them already? Why is Scotland sitting here now worse than when you came to power? Schools, worse. The NHS, worse. Education, worse. Social care, worse. Drug deaths, worse. Transport, worse. Communications, worse. International relations, worse. Everything. 17 years of decay. 17 years of putting a single agenda as a priority over everything else. And Swinney reckons he can come in and in the next 6-7 weeks change everything and say, trust me, ignore the last 17 years, ignore everything we've done wrong that I have been at the heart of. And trust me to change it all in a couple of weeks and move forward. No way, John. They aren't going to trust you. They don't trust you. They've seen the failure around John Swinney. And now the election comes and the people are angry. The people have a vote. The people will use it well. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath for the SNP and I will be laughing and following it. And we're going to have a lot of this over the next few weeks. I'm going to do a lot of election coverage, so do stick with me. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. And let's go on a wonderful, wonderful 7-week journey into the fantasy land that is both Scottish and Westminster politics as we see hundreds and hundreds of politicians lying their teeth off. Till then, goodbye.